Now, Britain's immigrant population is set to rise by over 300,000 a year under the Tories over the next 5 years. That's according to official forecasts. That's the equivalent of another city the size of Doncaster arriving every single year. This comes as the government's Rwanda bill suffered yet another 5 defeats in the House of Lords last night. Joining me now to discuss this is commentator and host of the Lotus Eaters podcast, Connor Tomlinson. Still with us in the studio, of course, also Philip Ingram. Connor, These are figures that were contained in the Office for Budget Responsibilities figures, the stuff they're given from the government about what their assumptions are about how many people are going to come to the country, how many people are going to leave the country. A lot of people will be quite surprised because we're constantly told they're going to get immigration down.
Yeah, Jeremy Hunt, as I remember correctly, during the budget, said 3 times that we're going to reduce migration, that we're not going to have a economy that's contingent on increasing migration to increase GDP. We want increased GDP per capita. Because even though GDP's been ticking up semi-steadily, it's slowed. GDP per capita has basically flatlined since before the pandemic.
Basically, just to explain for people who, are not up on all these figures, per capita, it's like basically if you spread out the wealth of the country has been going up, but not very much. But the wealth of the country, when divided between everybody in the country, is a completely different matter because the more people arrive in the country, unless they are net contributors, you end up sharing out the same amount of wealth with more people, which I think makes us poorer.
Exactly. It looks bigger on the graph, but when the actual money you're looking at in your pay packet at the end of the month is going down, you don't exactly feel that diversity is our strength. And the Europeans have cracked this. When you look at the Dutch data that came out recently, they said that, OK, let's look at contributions to tax by migrant origin. And they said if you're from East Asia and you're from Europe and you're from the Anglosphere, you are net tax contributors. If you are from the Middle East, North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa, you're net tax burden. So you never, over the course of your lifetime, contribute that. Now,
so that'll be on average. There will be people who are the exceptions to the rule on both sides. But basically, they look to like where is the best place to get people from? And again, I don't think it's a surprise that importing people from countries that have strong education and health systems and civil government, that those people arrive and are able to perhaps make more of a contribution economically to our country. I don't know why that's a mystery to anybody.
I think it's because they fundamentally believe, there's a kind of like arrogant liberal assumption that with just enough secular education and just enough material redistribution, you can take anyone from anywhere and make them as contributive a citizen as someone that was born in Britain.
But the reality is actually, I mean, again, people, I would say genuinely, somebody who collects the bins or sweeps the roads is making a bigger contribution to life than certainly, maybe you and me, not Philip Ingram, he's done useful things in the military. But some people don't earn high salaries and they're not net contributors, but they are already here. The trouble is, if you're importing people to do a lot of jobs which are on low incomes, those people bring their families. They need schools, they need GPs, they go on the roads, they need public transport, they need housing, crucially. But if they're not net contributors, which most people, that's the reality, or not, then you're just adding to the burden of the nation. And yet we have been told, since Tony Blair onwards, that immigration is a good thing. Forget even the cultural diversity stuff. But the immigration itself is a good thing. It's providing growth. We need immigration for growth. Despite the fact, since Tony Blair was in power and he opened the doors, Eastern Europeans, and many of whom have worked incredibly hard here and done very well and set up businesses and all that. This is not an attack on those people at all. It's whether or not it's good for the rest of the country or not. But we've not seen growth. I mean, it's been pathetic growth even when we've had growth, and now we haven't even got growth.
Well, the peak of immigration under the Blair and Brown years, I think it was 2010 to 2011, that was about 383,000. So when the Conservatives are saying, oh, don't worry, we're going to bring immigration down by the largest cut ever, they're not even as conservative as they were in 2016. Yeah. And when people point out the different levels of contribution of different immigrants from different backgrounds, whether they're more industrious or culturally compatible or not, well, the ONS turned around the other day and told Neil O'Brien MP, oh, we're going to stop collecting data on tax contributions by national origin, not because it's useful for the public to have, but because it's really inconvenient to our narrative that immigration is an unmitigated good.
It is bizarre, isn't it? I mean, again, there's so much focus on illegal migration. We've got the Rwanda bill still going through the parliamentary system. They've had another 5 defeats, that's 10 in total from peers, and that's not even just, the Labour and the Lib Dem and the crossbench peers, the Tory peers as well, the hand-wringing sort of, greenbelt variety, trying to vote down the ability of the government to actually just deport some people who they don't want, the nation doesn't want here. We focus a lot on, stop the boats, not done that, on illegal migration. But meanwhile, the government has been seeing, just extraordinary rise in legal migration, which is entirely within their control.
Absolutely. And I find it very interesting that former Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, who resigned over this whole affair, told the BBC a couple of months ago, in his estimation, Rwanda was foisted on him and was never intended to work.
Yeah.
And it seems to be such a dead cat distraction strategy at this point. It's been on the table so long, all the fur's rotted.
But it's just become a symbol, hasn't it? Philip Ingram, final word on this to you.
Yeah, well, I think we mix up legal and illegal immigration, and as you say, the legal immigration is completely under the control of the government and needs to be targeted. But we also need to make sure to bring that down, that the skill sets that are needed, that we're importing, are replicated for our citizens.
Yeah, but also, why do we think that we uniquely don't seem to be able to have enough people who can train to be doctors? Are we uniquely stupid? I think it's rather insulting, isn't it?